I've just crossed over into Alabama now. It's hot out here. Hey everyone, this channel has always been about science and scams, but this video is going to be completely different. Earlier this year I tried to cycle across the United States from coast to coast, and I'd love to share some of that journey on YouTube. The route I chose was across the southern states, so my flight was from London Heathrow and I arrived at Orlando Airport in the afternoon. I had to cycle out of Orlando Airport, and this is really quite dangerous, so I don't recommend that anyone else does that. After finally getting out of the airport, I cycled about 100 kilometers up towards Daytona Beach, where I had a hotel booked, and the next day the coast-to-coast effort got started for real at the Atlantic Ocean, and then I headed north before turning west to Gainesville. Just a warning, I did record myself speaking to the camera, but I was so tired I often just come across as miserable and confused. I'm just out. Okay, I've been cycling between... On this first proper day of cycling, something happened that made me keep my helmet on for almost the entire rest of the trip.
I was clobbered in the head by something really hard. I don't know. I think a bird hit me because I turned around and saw a bird flying off. A big bird.
So here I am whinging to the camera in Gainesville. These first few days were a bit of a culture shock to me. I've never been to the US before, and I just wasn't ready for how difficult it is to navigate as a pedestrian in particular. There were just no pavements in some places, which was kind of confusing for me. But Gainesville is quite a pretty place, and the next morning I saw all these cool trees, and then I saw something that raised my spirits even further. I think this is the first roundabout I've seen. I'm pretty sure this is the first roundabout I've seen. How cool is that? The first few days in Florida had some decent enough roads for cycling on. There wasn't always a lot of space at the side, but there were also quite a lot of nice paths which were just for cycling on, like this one. Google is pretty good at directing you onto them, but you still need to use some judgment. Yeah, Google is telling me to go down there for quite a few miles. I'm not going to do it, it's clearly not paved. It says it's the end of the trail. I imagine you could probably walk it, but... There were plenty of early starts on this trip. I mostly set off as soon as the sun came up to give me as much daylight to cycle in as possible. I had dynamo lights on the bike, but they were pretty unreliable, so I also took some decent battery backups, and you never know when you're going to need them. So I'm just outside of Perry. I think I've been going about 40 kilometers, and it's just turned really foggy. Wasn't expecting this at all, and so I just stopped to turn on my lights. As I made progress through Florida, there were some fantastic roads for cycling on. I think this was US Highway 90, and there's a decent bit of tarmac on the side where you can ride. I've no idea if you're meant to do that, and if you're not comfortable with fast traffic you won't like this, but I thought it was great. Bridges like this one were never fun, and there's plenty more of these to come. The section where you can cycle gets really narrow and no one seems keen to slow down. Anyway, here's a top tip. Pringles don't get squashed in your bag, they have this solid tube, so they're a pretty good cycling snack. But I didn't only eat Pringles. I wanted to go and get something to eat, but I don't know what I can do now. I'm not sure they'll bring me a takeaway. Damn. I did manage to get a takeaway. It was a Domino's with toppings that we don't get in the UK, and it was really nice, so sorry about that, pizza snobs. Still navigating through Florida, and there were some more great roads for cycling on. The weather was hot, but I didn't really mind the heat. There were some good bridges, and there were some pretty scary ones. I'm fairly confident on my bike, but I do not enjoy being passed this close by trucks. This is an old brick road near Milton in Florida. It's pretty cool to look at, although obviously it's not ideal for cycling on. Papa John's Pizza, Sierra Mist, which I've not heard of before, but looks quite nice.
I've just crossed over into Alabama now. That's kind of funny because the Google lady said in her robot voice, "Welcome to Alabama." There's a nice path here. Shouldn't be filming this. It says no filming, but we are. Check this out. Someone post this to the lockpicking lawyer. 1, 2, 3, 4 master locks. And what's this?
Crossing Mobile Bay in Alabama was probably the worst part of this trip when it comes to traffic. I don't think there's any good way to cycle this section without, say, a huge detour going north, but I don't think I would want to do this again. The roads are so busy, there's lots of narrow sections with no space for a bicycle, and then there was this huge suspension bridge with no path for pedestrians, which was just terrifying as I don't like heights. Finally, I'm arriving into Mississippi, cycling on the gravel. I must have just given up on the road at this point because of the really fast traffic, but at least I made it in time to cool off in the pool. There generally wasn't as much space on the tarmac in Mississippi, or the edge of the road had these big bridges cut into them, and then there were these massive logging trucks as well, so this was a pretty tough section. Just a note about the music, it's probably not to everyone's taste. These are all no copyright sounds classics, but I watch a lot of YouTube and I genuinely listen to this music on Spotify while cycling. So this is the authentic sound of the journey. Oh, and I listen to a ton of podcasts as well. I know people will say you should listen to the traffic, but I honestly think it makes no difference. So I'm in Amite City in Louisiana. I just cycled from Lucedale, 206 kilometers today. I feel okay. It's a Friday today, and I do feel kind of fed up already. It's such a long way, and just was, you know, some bits were nice today, some bits were fun. I had a decent stretch in the morning, but yeah, I have no idea what these enormous tubes are for, but at least they don't go too fast. Today was hard. I was trying to hurry along. Several times I was chased by dogs. They run out and yell at me and chased after me, and I'm shouting back like... Of course, I'm trying to get away, but one of them like, run in front of me as well. You're already chasing me off. You have to like... stop me leaving as well. There was some decent roads and road surface, and then there were just some horrible bits. Really lumpy roads, really bits with like narrow area for cycling on. I'm really not feeling it today. My clothes didn't really dry out last night, so I feel damp. I'm standing in front of the heat right now. It doesn't really matter, I'm about to get soaked and sweat anyway, but I'll just try to start the day dry, you know.
Little Caesar's pizza, very underwhelming.
There's not enough tomato sauce on there. They didn't fill it to the edges. There was no customization option on DoorDash, so I had to get really just the default veggie topping, which is mushrooms, black olives, and green peppers. It's just a terrible selection of things to put on a pizza.
Well, this is the weather this morning. Is it viable? Can I cycle in that? I don't really know.
Because of the chafing on my chest, I had to wear my top open, and I'd switched to the clear glasses, so this is just an awful look, but I had to include it. Today was really hard. There was a terrible road into this place where I am now, which is near Dallas. But now I've arrived at the hotel. There is a Domino's which delivers, so I have a nice looking pizza. And Spoon Kid 2 video came out, shotgun only wipe, 1 hour 45 minute video, which is great. Yeah, you clearly can't hear what I'm saying, but there was a tornado warning and I decided I could probably cycle out of the area if I set off early enough. So this day was a bit of a mad dash to get out of the danger zone, but of course tornadoes might have been the least of my worries. Just stopped here near Weatherford in Texas. I was right about Highway 180. This is much nicer going, being on a road like this, where there's a good bit of space at the edge. And it's like, yeah, I'm not constantly changing which direction I'm going or which road I'm on. Not very busy with traffic. Like an idiot, I didn't really bring much food, so that's kind of dumb, but yeah, I don't feel too hungry anyway. Although the roads had really improved since cycling past Dallas, as I carried on across Texas, a new problem started to make it really difficult to make any progress. It's very windy. Anyway, I really found I can make progress just tuck right in, pedaling low gear. If I sit up much at all, I'm just caught in the wind and I hardly move.
In the distance, I see a shining light. In the sky, I met the maker when we smiled. This love will begin. When we survive this lovely life.
Just had a huge fucking dog run out on me.
In the distance, I see my mother's face. In the rear view, I see it aging. It hurts my heart, tears me apart. But in the end, we'll get together again. When we survive this lovely life.
I don't know if you can see the oil well off in the distance there. It's hot out here. The sun is like directly above me right now. I've just found like the tiniest fraction of shade here.
But in the end, we'll get together again. When we survive this lovely life.
Yes, so unfortunately this is where the attempt came to an end. I had 4 weeks to cycle about 4,000 kilometers, and after just over 2 weeks I was ahead of schedule. I'd done around 2,400, but the weather was forecast to have a strong headwind and the temperature was going to be around 40 degrees Celsius or 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Realistically, I wasn't going to make my flight if I carried on into the desert on my bike. I may have been able to get 100 kilometers a day, and in an ideal world I would have just sat and waited for the weather to change, but that wasn't an option this time. I had to go back to work. So this is where it ended, in Seminole, Texas. I got the Greyhound bus and then a flight to LA, where I met up with a friend. Obviously I promised everyone I would never do this again, and that's a complete lie because I definitely will. This was my first attempt at vlogging, so if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and I might even film the next attempt, but don't worry, normal service will be resumed on this channel and I'm working on Science Police episode 4.